Do you wonder why artists can be on top of the world one day and the next day you don't hear from them? Or the image they put out can look as if they have it all, and as time goes by, they let you know it wasn't all it seemed to be? Is it possible that your favorite singer or rapper can look rich but actually be broke? And is it possible that an artist can sign a record deal so bad they end up on the record label? Can a record label take the artist's music even if the artist wrote it? Do record companies purposely put things in contracts to favor themselves and not the artist? Can an artist sign a deal just to obtain fame? Does an artist have control over their music once they sign a deal? Do record companies help the artist with the business, or is it all up to the artist? Today we will dive into these topics, and we'll also see videos from actual experiences and find out on Monte's Believe It or Not.
Only about 5% of artists ever see a back-end royalty. That astounded me. A few years ago, all the lawyers from all the major record companies, the general counsels were there, and business affairs people, and they said 5% of their artists are getting a royalty check. That means, you know, I always say to people, especially younger people, don't think about that you're going to make any money from a record deal.
When you drop a popular project or a big song, if you get the back end of that, you know that's real money. The value of the song over the lifetime of the song is hard to even calculate. You know what I'm saying? When the records is successful or even just viral and they trending on the mixtape level, that the streaming turns over. So if you can, stay in control, you know, of your masters as long as you can, because you will love to have a catalog. That's the best thing I had. So to own the masters is very critical, you know, if you can. You know, when you, as an artist, until you sign a contract, you own your masters. And even when you do, you know, it's contracts that you can sign where you still own your masters. That's definitely the cornerstone to, you know, maximizing the value. Is try to maintain the ownership of the masters.
Basically, like music, I've always wanted to own my own music since I started making my music. And if you probably don't know this, but most of your favorite artists do not own their work. The music industry is, you know, certain corners of it. But I think that there was something that happened years ago where I made it very clear that I wanted to be able to buy my music. That opportunity was not given to me, and it was sold to somebody else. And so I just figured I was the one who made this music first. I can just make it again.
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing. So when something says in parentheses Taylor's version next to it, that means I own it, which is exciting.
We are the biggest selling female group ever. 10 million albums worldwide. We have worked very hard. We have been in this business for 5 years. And we are broke as broke can be. And we're not like trying to be a sad story. If that was the case, we would have been on everybody's talk show talking about how broke we are. We haven't done that. I know it's hard to believe because we've sold so many albums, but it is possible. That's the deal here. So, and we're not happy at all.
Trust me, you can sell 10 million albums and be broke if you have greedy people behind you.
What do all entertainers do when they run out of money?
So they masters publishing.
What's the first thing they start looking at?
They publishing, they masters.
They publishing,
yes.
their masters,
yes.
And all the royalties that I never got.
Yes, yes.
Ooh.
So Whitney Houston broke the Beatles record.
Yes.
Whitney Houston broke Elvis's record. Whitney Houston is the only black artist ever, not even Michael Jackson, to have 3 certified diamond albums. I Will Always Love You is the highest selling female song in world history. You understand me? Is she broke?
Black artists have been taken advantage of completely. And it's time now that we have to put a stop to this incredible injustice. And like Mrs. Sharpton was saying, people from James Brown to Sammy Davis Jr., some of the real pioneers that inspired me to be the entertainer that I am. These artists are always on tour because if they stopped touring, they would totally go broken. And the record companies really do conspire against their artists. They steal, they cheat, they do whatever they can, especially the black artists.
Some artists don't want to be involved in their career in that way. Be involved in the business, going to all the meetings and understanding how they recruit stuff and understanding about their masters and understanding who you pay back or how to get paid. Set yourself up where you're going to have to do shows all your life.
Right.
You set yourself up where you're going to have to drop albums all your life or you're not going to be getting paid. If you don't drop an album, you're not going to get paid. But when you set your stuff up, when you got residuals coming in, no matter what, it's because of the way your deal was structured. You might get a deal for $3 million and you got to pay taxes on $3 million, but you walked away with 1.8,
Right.
1.5. But you got to pay $3 million, so you got to think about that 1.5 that you spending. You're really supposed to be paying that for taxes.
You sign your deal, you get dropped. You still get to keep the money they already gave you. They probably don't fulfill. Like, did you ever see the full million? Or it's like, here's the advance for the first album. That was like $300,000.
Yeah.
But you're floating off of that for the next few years, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure you're making money
Spent some of
doing
it.
other stuff.
Spent a lot of it. Because anytime we did a tour or like anything like that, that came out of like my money.
Mm-hmm.
So like
Right.
everyone's hotels, everyone's flights, but the bus, food, all that comes out of my money. So, I mean, by the time it was all over, I wasn't even close to $300K, but it was enough.
It's how you were supporting yourself.
Yeah.
And then your bank account got seized by the IRS in 2015.
Yeah, that sucked.
Did you have a sense it was going to happen?
No.
Or
So yeah, I owed $350,000 in taxes. So they wiped my bank account to zero.
Now I need to know what I'm recouping, how much I need to pay back, who I need to pay back, and who I owe some money because I want to be able to, like I said, I want to have residuals. I want to be able to be 100% control over my career. I don't want to work all these nights in the studio and somebody else get to say so for how I move, when I move, or when I drop.
You can create music all day long, but it's like, especially if you're signed to a label, you can't control your release dates or when things get released. Also, musicians don't make a lot of money in the music industry. That's why you see a lot of people, they have brand deals and brand sponsorships. That's where the coin comes from in touring. But like music itself, you're actually losing money. You know what I mean? So it's a business, and sometimes it's sad to think of it that way, but that's why tours go big and everything. That's where you make your money and the big brand deals. So that's like a fact that not too many people know. They think it's like this huge high life thing. And yes, you might get a big lump sum of money in the beginning, or you might have a huge recording budget and you think the label's paying for it, but at the end of the day, you're paying for it. It's coming out of you. So whatever you made from that album, you get that after whatever has been paid off. So it's like a loan. Then I also have to put like on my business mind hat, because if you don't, you could get screwed over.
How many albums you may potentially have to commit to the record company. If it's a major label record company, you will be looking at anywhere between 5 and 7 albums, I would say.
The public sees the word $20 million an album. Well,
let's see. Do you all think that's a good deal?
I mean, tell me why. I mean, what am I missing?
Okay, let's do some math.
Okay.
If
You do math like that?
Kinda. If you sign me, you signed me to a record company or a record deal. Let's suppose you have a record company.
Right.
How much would you give me? The album sells for $18, right? $18.
Whatever. Yeah.
All right. How much of that would you give me?
Well, I don't know how it works.
Well, no.
Half?
Half? Half sound good?
Yeah.
All right. Check this out. If I sell 1 million copies, I'm gonna have $10 million, right? Roughly $10 million.
Right.
If I sell 2 million copies, I got $20 million.
Right.
If I just sell 3 million copies, I got $30 million. Now who has the biggest record deal?
Oh, I see. Yeah, right. Okay.
Right? So Mariah kind of got screwed.
Why did Atlantic basically tell YoungBoy, listen, after 22 albums that you dropped in a time period where we only contracted you to do 5, hey, we'll negotiate and give you this amount of money, but we ain't giving you a part of your masters back. These are real things. What does that mean? When YoungBoy started, he's 17, he's 22 now. You don't understand what the on? He's just putting out music. Theoretically, you satisfy a contract 4 times. they're eating crazy off of you. Look how much they own your YouTube money. They own this. These are things that to a 17-year-old coming in the game that was like when he got in the games, NBA YoungBoy was an artist who got a suspended 10-year sentence for being in the drive-by. He not thinking about, well, this is what a music contract looks like. This is how I should do it. And the label is seeing 10 times what they even bargained from him.
Our first contract was 7 albums, essentially 14 years. So I signed that contract when I was 23. One thing they do with certain younger artists, but I think particularly more in the pop realm, is they do these 360 deals. If you get a perfume deal, if you own a piece of your whole world. And fame is such a great quotient in American life now that you can see where kids would trade fame and give and be willing to give away like the profit part. You listen to Bob Dylan's song on Spotify. Bob Dylan's not getting a lot of money for that. But as Spotify and the other streaming services raise up in their equity position, the labels benefit. So the labels pimped out their own artist to take a greater equity position in a rising business.
Michael Jackson wasn't even making dollars off of his albums. It's called points and percentages and royalties you get for the record. So for example, if they were selling Michael Jackson record Thriller for $9.99, right? How much money do you really think he made off of each copy of Thriller? And this is the 80s. And that sold the most records ever. He made a lot of money, but what you think the record labels made? They made all the money. So it's like it's time for it to be reversed. If the artist is the one who everybody loves and cherishes, he should be the one getting them up finances. Perfect example, Taylor Swift. She ain't an old artist at all. She's quite new. What did she do? She remastered her album. Why? Because she wasn't making revenues off of that album. This is my music. I should be making money off of my project when you buy it.
Actually, when I would sit down with artists, just hanging out, you know, chilling, not doing anything in particular, we would talk about the trials and tribulations of the industry all the time. And we would talk about ways that we could change things if we had our way. Unfortunately, all of us were signed to these really restrictive agreements where you can't get out of them until you deliver X amount of product. And that product would actually belong to the corporation that you're recording for. Now, the reason why it became such a big deal back then is ever since my third album, I wasn't really taking large advances from the recording companies. I was recording the albums myself in my own studio. So the way I looked at it, I owned the work because I paid for it. And I did all the work. I created it, so I felt like it should belong to me. That said, the companies felt otherwise. And they would always hold this contract up and say, well, you signed it. And I say, well, I understand that. It's not like I want to leave. I just want to, you know, talk about this thing and see if we can't make it more fair. Of course, they wouldn't change because if they changed, they wouldn't really exist. And that's kind of the situation we're in right today. They're not going to exist much longer. The idea is that we find better ways of working with one another. It shouldn't be a situation where they own the album or the work. We're talking about intellectual copyrights. If we can work together, then it's going to be, you know, everybody will kind of move into a situation where they do what it is that they're qualified to do. If they're going to be indeed a delivery service, then that's fine. But even FedEx doesn't say that they own the thing that they ship, you know, right?
1501 trying to tell me I can't put out no music. All I did was ask to renegotiate my contract. Then it became a big old thing. When I signed, I didn't really know what was in my contract. I was young. I think I was like 20. And I didn't know everything that was in that contract. So when I got with Roc Nation, I got management, real management. I got real lawyers. And they was like, do you know that this is in your contract? And I was like, oh, damn, that's crazy. No, I didn't know. It's really just like a greedy game. Like, it's really just real greedy. Wasn't trying to lead a label. Wasn't trying to not give nobody money that they feel like they entitled to. I just want to renegotiate. They don't even care about what's right. They care about money in the end, and it's a greedy game, man.
We don't make money off our YouTube videos. We don't make money off our streaming. The label won't let me go. I can't do this. I can't do that.
Don't understand the YouTube checks. Don't understand the SoundCloud checks. Don't understand other checks you could be getting that's not just show money or whatever the case may be. If somebody sample your records 20 years from now, you want to be able to get paid from that.
Right.
How you going to collect that money when you're not the one that can sign off on that? Somebody else going to be getting paid off of that.
Right.
But if you don't know that, then you just oblivious to the fact that you can be financially stable for the rest of your life. You just didn't set yourself up to be stable.
Warner Brother got my YouTube hostage. I ain't been assigned to Warner Brothers since 2013. Wow. But these niggas got me in a slave contract of 360. This when I was knowledgeable. Why? The fact, I want the fuck YouTube for the fact that they ran my page. I couldn't even run ads on get money on nothing because they got it. So it was hindering me from growing as an artist. That's what made me go to EDM and this, that, and the third. To this day, I'm fighting them. Like I'm definitely about to try to sue them right now. Like I ain't even want to do that. It's just probably like, yo, you want that kind of energy. I'm not putting no music out. I'm not doing nothing. Why the f*** do y'all got my music? You know what I'm saying? Record labels, we need to change the laws in record labels.
Look no further than the deals that the record labels cut with the streaming services. They got into ownership equity deals with the streaming services. In an arrangement for them to have an equity position, they agreed to very low rates for the artist's music. Metallica's management, for example, has come out and especially U2's former manager, Paul McGuinness, come out. They're trying to take on YouTube now. Because YouTube's got this weird, funky position where they'll pay on licensed music, but they won't pay for covers. YouTube's like one of the big targets of the business because whatever deal they agreed to with YouTube 10 years ago is super weak. But again, these are all machinations that go on above the artist's spot.
I'm not in war with the music industry. It's just, it's time for us to innovate. And we need to have contracts that make sense with exactly how we sell music.
You're an artist, you're vulnerable, you're excited. They give you a limousine ride. You're like, this is the greatest day of my life. So all of a sudden, you write a couple great songs. Everyone's wanting them. And you immediately, if you're not careful, can sign your life away. Not because you're stupid, but because you just don't simply know what you're doing. I was blessed to be around streetwise people like Bobby and Ricky and CeCe in my band. And we would look at these contracts, and I didn't know what I was reading. But I'm like, this doesn't sound right. We're getting paid a penny for every 36 million records sold. 36 million records and we get a dime. I'm pretty sure we can do better than this, right? So we bet on ourselves.
How does that work? You got dropped by Columbia, but they still own your old music?
They own my album.
But like you can still put out music under Kreayshawn and all that.
Yeah.
So this new EP that you put out,
it's 100% me, man. You know, cop that.
Well, it's not your game. You didn't make the rules, so everything comes hard. And as long as you're signed to a contract, you're going to take a minority share of the winnings. A select few of us will do well. The majority will not. So as a people, we'll be considered a minority. But stop. Let's take a moment and look at yourselves. There's nothing minor about you. You are a blessed people. You're the most talented on earth, and you are still grateful. That is why upon winning in their game, you always thank God. Tonight I would like to ask one favor of you. Imagine what we'll all be like in our own game. Peace and love for one another.